Madam Koikoi is coming. Everyone run to the dormitory for siesta.
If you went to female boarding school in Nigeria, then you've heard of Madam Koikoi. Even if you never saw her, you heard the warning in somebody's voice. Half joke, half fear. Don't walk the corridor at night. Don't make noise after lights out. And please, don't call her name. Because in federal girls' schools, some stories are not told for entertainment. They are told so you can survive. But before the sound became a legend, before the heels became a threat, her name was Kemi. And if you want to know how she became Madam Koikoi, you must first understand this. Kemi did not become Madam Koikoi overnight. She became one step at a time. Kemi grew up in a small town, not too far from the city, in a house where silence was considered good behavior. Her father was strict, her mother was quiet. Kemi learned early that laughter could get you punished. Kemi was brilliant in school, always first or second, always neat, always on time. She loved books the way hungry people love food. When she finally gained admission into a federal secondary school, her mother cried with pride. Federal school is big, her mother said, smoothing Kemi's uniform. Be humble, be careful. Federal girls' boarding school is not like day school. In boarding school, you don't just learn maths and English. You learn hierarchy. You learn fear. You learn that seniors can turn your life into a daily punishment if you don't bend. Kemi entered as a JSS 1 girl, fresh, innocent, excited. By the first week, she understood the truth. Seniors shouted like they owned the air. Matrons backed orders like soldiers. Teachers punished without explaining. Kemi tried to mind her business and obey rules. But boarding school does not always reward good behavior. Sometimes it just notices it. A senior girl named Tara began to pick on Kemi for no reason. You think you are too correct. You think you are better than us. Smile small or we will wipe that pride. One day, Tara accused Kemi of stealing her white bed sheets. Kemi swore she didn't. But in boarding school, truth is weak when power is angry. They took Kemi into the corridor after lights out and made her kneel for hours. Kemi's knees burned. Tears ran down her face. She tried not to cry loudly because crying too loud would attract more trouble. In that corridor, Kemi learned something that shaped her for life. When people have power, they don't need truth. They only need fear. The bedsheet was later found in Tara's box. Everyone laughed like it was a joke. Nobody apologized. That day, Kemi stopped being soft inside. She whispered to herself on her way to the refectory, "One day, I will be the one people fear." Years passed. Kemi graduated with excellent results. She went to university, studied education, and returned to the world with a serious face and a silent fire inside. People saw her as hardworking. But Kemi wasn't just hardworking. She was driven by something old, a need to never be powerless again. When she got posted to a federal girls' secondary school as a teacher, it felt like destiny. The school was different from her old one, but the smell was the same. Soap, chalk, sweat, fear. The school was called Federal Government Girls' School, or Cahill. Tall gates, neat buildings, long corridors. The kind of school that looked perfect from outside. Kemi arrived wearing a crisp blouse and a fitted skirt, carrying books under her arm. But what students noticed first was her shoes. Black, polished heels, sharp and clean. The moment she walked across the tiles, koi, 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 the sound echoed like it had something to announce. Other teachers greeted her politely. Students stared. Kemi did not smile much. She only asked where the dorm corridors were. And from her first week, students knew she was not the playful type. She taught English. She taught moral instruction. She spoke about discipline like it was salvation. No noise in class. No late coming. No lying. No disrespect. When students disobeyed, she punished them quickly without shaking. At first, people admired her. She is strict but fair, some students said. Even the principal, Mrs. Ayo, liked Kemi. This is the kind of teacher we need, Mrs. Ayo said. Federal school must have standards. Kemi nodded. standards. That word tasted sweet in her mouth because standards meant control, and control was the opposite of the helpless girl who once knelt in a corridor. Kemi's strictness soon became something more. She started patrolling corridors at night. At first, she claimed she was checking for sick students. Then, she claimed she was ensuring girls were asleep. But girls began to notice something strange. Kemi didn't just check, she listened. Like she was waiting to catch someone breathing too loudly. When the lights went out and dorms became quiet, some girls heard her heels. Koi, 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 moving steadily down the corridor. Girls would freeze, blankets pulled up, eyes open in darkness, because the fear was not only about punishment, it was about being seen. In federal school, being seen at the wrong time could ruin you. The matron, Auntie Bisi, once tried to stop Kemi. Madam Kemi, she said carefully, night duty is for matrons. Teachers should rest. Kemi's eyes were calm but cold. Matron, Kemi replied, when you leave girls unchecked, they become wild. Auntie Bisi swallowed. They are children. Kemi's lips tightened slightly. Children become adults. Discipline is planted early. After that, Auntie Bisi avoided her, and the students understood. This teacher was not going to relax. In every school, there is always one student who doesn't fear teachers. Her name was Sade. Sade was bold, outspoken, and popular. She came from a rich home and carried herself like rules were optional. One evening, Kemi punished Sade for making noise in class. Sade rolled her eyes and muttered, "This woman thinks she owns everybody." The class went silent. Kemi stepped closer. "What did you say?" Sade forced a smile. "Nothing, ma." But her face said, "You can't do anything." Kemi stared at her for a long second. Then she smiled. Not a friendly smile. A small smile that felt like a door locking. "See me after lights out," Kemi whispered softly. Sade blinked. "After lights out?" "Yes," Kemi replied. "In the corridor." The word moved through the class like wind. That evening, Sade's friends warned her, "Don't go. That corridor is not safe at night. This woman is different." Sade laughed. "Safe? It's just a school corridor." But Kemi didn't see a corridor. Kemi saw the place where she once knelt and begged. She saw the place where power once humiliated her. And Sade's face, proud, disrespectful, looked too much like Tara's face from long ago. Kemi didn't realize it yet, but that night, her past was waiting for her on the tiles. That night, the school compound was quiet. The generator went off early. A soft wind moved through the trees. Girls whispered in dorms, some laughed, some prayed. Sade slipped out, wearing her cardigan, walking with confidence down the corridor. Kemi was already there, hands behind her. Her heels clicked as she took one step forward. "Koi." Sade stopped. "Good evening, ma." Kemi's voice was low. "So you came." Sade shrugged. "You called me." Kemi walked closer slowly, like a judge approaching the guilty. "Koi, koi, koi." "I heard what you said," she whispered. "You think you can disrespect me." Sade tried to keep her pride. "Ma, I'm sorry." Kemi's eyes narrowed. "Sorry is cheap. Kneel." Sade froze. "Ma, kneel?" "Yes," Kemi repeated. "Kneel." Sade hesitated, then slowly knelt, more from shock than obedience. Girls behind dorm doors were watching through cracks, breath held. Kemi looked down on Sade and spoke like she was speaking to her own past. When people are corrected, they learn. When they are allowed to misbehave, they grow rotten. Sade swallowed. "Ma, I said sorry." But Kemi's mind was no longer in that corridor. It had slipped back to the night she knelt, to the cold tiles, to the laughter, to the humiliation. Kemi's breathing changed. Her hands trembled slightly, and then something happened that no one expected. A loud bang echoed. Someone dropped a metal bucket on a dorm. The sound startled Kemi violently. Her heels slipped on a wet patch near the edge of the corridor where rainwater had crept in. Kemi stumbled. Her body twisted, and she fell. Hard. The sound of her head hitting the edge of the step was dull and final. Sade screamed. Doors flew open. Girls poured into the corridor. Matrons ran. The principal was called. Auntie Bisi pushed through the crowd, shaking. Kemi lay on the tiles, eyes open but not seeing. And her shoes. One heel cracked slightly, but her foot twitched once, as if the corridor was still holding her. The principal, Mrs. Ayo, arrived with a furious face and trembling hands. A teacher dying in the corridor at night? Questions would follow. Why was a student out? Why was a teacher out at that hour? What really happened? Mrs. Ayo made a decision. That same night, she ordered the corridor cleaned. By morning, the story had changed. They said Madam Kemi had collapsed suddenly from illness. They warned students not to talk about it. They told staff to keep quiet. They held a short assembly tribute and moved on quickly. But the corridor did not move on, because tiles remember, and fear remembers better than people.
3 weeks after Kemi's burial, a JSS1 girl woke up to use the toilet and heard footsteps outside. She froze. She thought it was a matron. She peeped through the door crack. The corridor was empty, but the sound continued, moving, steady. The girl screamed. The dorm woke. Matrons ran out with torches. Nothing, just silence and a coldness that did not match the weather. From that day, girls began to whisper, "She has returned." Someone asked, "Who?" And someone answered with shaking lips, "Madam Koikoi." Because that was what she had become now. Not Madam Kemi, not teacher, not human. Just a sound walking through a corridor that never healed. Some seniors said Madam Koikoi punished rude students. Some said she chased girls who bullied juniors. Some said she walked because she was angry. But old matrons, the ones who had seen enough life, said something deeper. They said she walks because her truth was buried. In African folktales, when a wrong is hidden, it does not disappear. It becomes a shadow. It becomes a voice. It becomes footsteps. And so Madam Koikoi became the school's warning that discipline without mercy becomes cruelty, that power without healing becomes obsession, that a place can turn pain into a spirit if truth is buried. Madam Koikoi is not just a scary story. She is a lesson, a reminder that unhealed pain can follow you into adulthood, that controlling others will not erase what hurt you, and that when truth is hidden for reputation, the silence can become louder than any confession.